We're going to start looking at a press conference right now held at Newark Penn Station. It's a story about a New Jersey homeless man reconnected with his family after more than 20 years. This man right now is an outreach official for the homeless. Let's listen in because he has something to do with helping Mr. Lopez, the homeless man, find his family.
Mr. Lopez was intent on finding his family, and I wanted to make sure that I was there to help him with doing that. I knew that there were some medical issues perhaps going on with Mr. Lopez, and yes, I could have sent him down to Bradley Beach in hopes that he'd be able to find his way there, but I knew that that wasn't the right option, and I wanted to make sure that I made every effort to try to find his family because I didn't want him out on the street and either become a victim or get himself hurt potentially. I wanted to make sure that I had a face-to-face with family or direct communication before we moved on to the next step. I wanted to make sure that he had a personal connection with his family.
Why was that so important to you?
For me, I have a wife and 2 children, and I know that if my kids didn't have me in their life for over 20 years, and I came in contact with someone looking for family connection, that I would want that person to go to every possible way to try to find a connection to bring us back together. So as a father and as a son myself, I wanted to make sure that I did everything I possibly could to find Mr. Lopez's family. And with absolute luck, we were able to call the right number and get the right message to the right person. And it's been an amazing journey since then. And it continues to go on. This week, we have connected Mr. Lopez to the PATH program, which is under the umbrella of the Mental Health Association of Essex and Morris. They have enrolled him, and he's been assigned a case manager who will be guiding him through the process of putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to get him into a permanent housing solution so that his family can stay connected with him, with their father, and have plenty of tomorrows to spend together.
You set the bar mighty high.
I'm sorry?
You set the bar mighty high as far as...
I take...
But what was it like that moment? You see the video on Twitter.
Yeah. That was a very emotional moment for me. I take a lot of pride in the work that I do as an outreach officer with the police department. I'm very blessed to have that role. And to see him connect with his family, to feel their emotion. Behind the camera, I was tearing up. It just meant so much to see this. Let me start that again. So it meant so much to see this connection after over 20 years of not seeing each other, to finally have that opportunity to spend a moment together and potentially years and years together as a family again.
How long have you been, I assume this was his neighborhood here around Penn Station. How long had you seen him, or had he been seen by police, if not you,
Sure.
as being an inhabitant, a resident?
So Mr. Lopez actually was living in Florida, in Miami, earlier this year. Was renting a room in a trailer park from a woman there, and he made the effort to try to connect to his family by taking the money that was left in his Social Security account and traveling up to New Jersey. And that's where he wound up somehow at Secaucus Junction, where he came in contact with Officer Robles. And Officer Robles took the time to speak with him and find out what was going on with Mr. Lopez, because he hadn't seen him there before. And at that moment is when he decided to ask if Mr. Lopez wanted help. And when he said yes, that's when Officer Robles reached out to me, and we connected from that point forward.
How representative is he, though, then, of the homeless population that you folks deal with every day?
How representative of he?
Are they looking for help? Are they asking for help? Are they turning down help? this is, this is a societal problem.
Sure.
Probably worldwide.
So every day I go out into the community here and try to connect to the at-risk community, try to offer different services. Unfortunately, there are a lot of folks that are dealing with either substance abuse or mental health issues, and so they may not always be in a place where they can accept that help and follow through to the next step. And so what I do is I continue to follow up on a daily basis, as many opportunities as it takes until they decide that now is the moment that they want to say, yes, I want help. And at that moment, we capture that and run with it and just continue to try to get as much success as we can from that moment. So yes, there are folks out there that are looking for help and some that are not. But every day we take the opportunities that present itself where individuals are looking for help, are wanting for help, and we connect them to the services as best as we can.
I'm going to bring up Mr. Lopez and his daughters.
I'm sorry?
How long did this reunion process take from start to finish?
So from start to finish, we got in contact with the family on actually speaking with them on the phone Wednesday of last week, and he connected with them the following day. Yeah. So.
What did you get me into?
It's okay. All right. You ready? You want to step up to? Okay.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes, sir.
what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking I'm in heaven. I got my two best girls. I got good friends.
Do you understand what happened to you that put you apart from them for so many years?
I'd rather not answer that.
Understood. What was it inside of you then that said you wanted to try to find them? What drove you from Florida?
Determination. I had to. I wanted to. I needed to.
It's been 24 years since you've seen them. What was it like the moment that you had an opportunity?
Very emotional. Very emotional. Because I love these kids.
What has it been like the last?
I can love them longer than forever.
What has it been like the last 20+ years without them?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What has it been like the last 24 years without us?
Empty. That about covers it right there, empty. And I hated feeling that way. There's no way a person should ever feel.
What do you hope happens now?
Good things, I hope. I mean, it's been good so far.
What was it like meeting your grandkids for the first time?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, beautiful feeling. Hard to describe, but very emotional feeling.
What are you looking forward to now?
Better life.
Could we hear from your daughters for a second, please?
Sure.
I think I see a tear in the corner of your eye. Do I? What do you? Which one of you made the phone call, by the way?
It was actually, I was actually in a parking lot and I had checked my voicemail. And I'm like, is this a scam or something? So I called my sister and I'm like, something weird's happening. And I was like, I got a call from the New Jersey Transit Police talking about Dad. I'm like, and she's like, wait a minute. I got the same number. She's like, wait, let me check my voicemail. So she had the same voicemail. So she's like, come to my house now. So flew to her house, and then she had called Officer Pfeiffer, and then we were waiting, and she's like, all right, is there anything else I could do? Should I email or, you know? So she ended up calling the New Jersey Transit Police, and that's when the email was sent. And then the next morning I got up, and I think it was around 7:30, I ended up calling the phone, and I actually got a hold of Officer Pfeiffer, and it just went on from there.
What did you two think had happened to your
I
father?
gotta sit down, my knees hurt.
We didn't know. You know, of course it always crossed our mind, and
Last like another
it crossed
minute.
any child's mind. You know, we always wish the best. We always wish we had him, but we were just grateful for this moment.
Did you think he was alive?
We knew he was alive because my sister Christy, you know, in her 20s started looking for him. She found him. We had contact for about 2 years after that when she found him. What, you were 30?
I found him in my 30s. I found him, located him. It was actually the day after we had Sandy. I received a letter with his last known address and phone number, and I called it, and luckily it was still his phone number. And he actually had to hang up because he was so shocked and called me right back. And we kept in contact for a few years. He did speak to the grandkids on the phone. And then after that, we just stopped hearing from him. And I assumed that was, now that I know that he's had a stroke or several strokes since then, I assumed that's about the time that he had the stroke and just couldn't remember my phone number anymore. Because no matter how many times he switched phones and switched phone numbers, he always remembered my number because it was so easy to remember. So we just stopped hearing from him, and I was actually just talking to my mom a couple of weeks ago about starting the search again because I was getting worried. I wasn't sure if he was still alive. I didn't know if something happened to him. So we were going to start the search again, and then we got the phone call out of nowhere. I mean, this is just a week ago, so a lot's happened in just a week.
How old were you, ladies? Give up anything? Remember how old you were when Dad
The last time I saw him was when I was 17, so she was 10. He showed up at the house. I wasn't expecting him. It had been a few years since we had seen him. We did, after our parents separated, we did have a lot of visits and everything in between, but then it got very few as years went on. And he just showed up when I was 17. We had a visit and everything, and after that, we just didn't hear from him. He left to go to Florida. He went with his sister and his mom, followed them down to Florida for work opportunities.
So can I sit down?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
Who wants to sit down for you?
what are you guys looking
I mean, better. You know, everything has been great for us, you know, up until now, but now that he's here, it's, you know, our kids get to know who their grandfather is. You know, we get to try to make up for some lost time. It's just amazing to us, and we all keep explaining it the same way. We have two brothers that live in Virginia. We've been on the phone with them. They're trying to get here to see him also, and we all keep saying it just feels like a dream. It's just a lot. It's a lot, but it's really it's just great. We were so grateful to Officer Pfeiffer for everything he's done and for bringing us together.
When you realize, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, more and big plans to see something different.
Well, just this weekend, he stayed with me at my house, and we did a few dinners and everything, made sure he slept well and ate well, and we took him for a ride through all of the surrounding towns because it's been a lot of years since he's been here, so we wanted him to see how much everything has changed. We actually, on Sunday, brought him over to a family member's house where he met up with a really old friend from about 45 years ago. They were best friends. They were best friends when they were in their early 20s. So they were really happy to see each other. So he spent the day with family and friends and everything that he hasn't seen in a very long time. So just just trying to get him out as much as possible and getting to know the grandkids, maybe a couple barbecues, and yeah.
What's your favorite?
Oh, they love Grandpa.
Yeah.
They love Grandpa. You know, that we've told them all stories from when we were younger and everything, so they know of Grandpa. They had just never met him. A couple of them have even spoken to him on the phone, you know, in past years. But seeing him and meeting him, especially hers are a little bit younger than mine. They stick to him like glue.
Yeah, they cater to him. You know, are you thirsty, Pop? You need something to drink. You need something to eat. You want a blanket. They very attached. It's as if he was never apart.
You guys described the first moment, you know, coming in and seeing him there, and you know, after all that time, you know, what was that moment like for you?
For me, I was that little girl.
Don't cry, stop. Honestly, I was terrified. I didn't know what to expect. It's been years since we've seen him. You know, I honestly didn't know what to expect, but just as soon as Officer Pfeiffer walked him in, it was just immediate. I saw on his face, you know, I remember the eyes, and it's just very nerve-wracking. Very. We didn't know what to expect, but
You know, but as soon as you heard his voice come through, it's, you know, he was talking, and I'm like, oh my God, he's coming.
We've been listening to a family reunion. These two women, the daughters of a homeless man, they all hadn't seen each other in 24 years. The man was reunited with his family by an NJ Transit officer who his work is homeless outreach. His name is Sean Pfeiffer. The Transit Police Department's effort, just incredible. After, and the man is not in the picture right now, the homeless man, the father of those two women, his name, I haven't heard his first name yet, but okay, now I've heard it. Jose Lopez. I was going to respectfully call him Mr. Lopez. Well, he was in Florida, and a police officer came upon him, and Mr. Lopez saying that as much as he could express, he wasn't at home and he wanted to go home. The Florida police officer called the officer at NJ Transit, and this has all happened in just the past week. Officer Sean Pfeiffer talking with Mr. Lopez, did not want to send him away and out on the streets. He was determined to find his family. And so they've reunited, spent the past couple days together. Again, remember, they haven't seen their dad in 24 years, nor has he seen his grandchildren, even met them. So that's been happening, all of this reunion. Mr. Lopez, who the daughters have said suffered a stroke in the time since they've seen him, he did go to the microphones and he was a bit weak, but he said, I'm thinking I'm in heaven. I got my two best girls, friends. I had to, I wanted to, I needed to. One of the daughters also saying, can you imagine, she thought it was a joke when she got the call. She didn't know where he was, and then they'd lost track. But the determination of NJ Transit outreach officer Sean Pfeiffer and this family who'd been looking for him and hadn't given up, it all came together, and he will continue to have a relationship with Officer Pfeiffer. He said he continues on with clients through mental health and medical issues and just make sure he's going to be okay. This family, including two other sons and an extended family, will soon all be together making up for lost time with Mr. Jose Lopez.